he's an actor, and Sophie and Amelia are actors that fit this description as well. That these two, it's such a gift for a writer to be able to, and I've said this before, to be able to write scenes where you don't have to write any dialogue because you know they're going to convey everything.
So we wanted to start off talking sort of a little bit about how you got to where you got, and then we'll get into some episode details. So my first question is, you went to Juilliard.
Yes.
You graduated with a degree in acting.
Yes.
And now you are writing on a TV show.
Yes.
Basically,
you have to fail as an actor first.
Oh yeah, I was wondering.
And then transition into.
Yeah, I was wondering about so your time at Juilliard, and then sort of what led you into TV.
No, it was great. Theater I was and kind of still is my first love, and I did that for a little over a decade, and my wife and I moved here, and it all sort of happened kind of by accident. I was writing a pilot on my off time, like most actors do between gigs, and got to know David Benioff, who's one of my bosses on Game of Thrones, and he was kind enough to read something the little pilot I was working on about, struggling 30-something actors in Venice Beach, and it was really good. You're sorry you're never going to see that. And I think he just, I've always said he saw something in me before I ever saw it in myself, and gave me some great notes and mentored me and opened a few doors on the production end of things. And then they gave me a shot at writing the 4th episode, because they didn't know that you don't do that. You don't give your assistant the 4th episode. So I benefited from the fact that that there was no staff. I essentially was the staff for the first season, and it all kind of spiraled from there. And now I'm co-exec producer, and I'm just waiting for everyone to figure out I don't know what I'm doing, and really just get acting gigs. If anyone hadn't, this is all a horrible mistake.
Jeremy and David and Dan, all of us, this was very carefully plotted out. It was a very hard day on set. But also, I will say, as a writer and as a producer, an exhilarating day, because the work being done that day, I think, is some of the best work being done on the show in terms of the way it's shot, in the terms of the camera moves, the lighting, the dressing, and most of all, these performances, these faces.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a strong scene. I mean, it's even though it's cruel, but
I mean, Alfie and Sophie are they're just extraordinary. And if you ask why we wanted to bring Sansa into this world, it didn't have to do with this scene. It had to do with the idea of her coming back to reclaim her family home, and encountering this broken character who betrayed her family, and the fireworks of these actors, 2 of our finest actors in the cast, playing off each other. That was why we made the decision to put Sansa in Winterfell.
It's been. I mean, when this is all over, it'll be almost 10 years, and so I've gotten to know some of these actors and be able to write to their strengths and to know what an actor is capable of giving me in any given moment. Alfie's a great example of somebody who I know I can write an entire scene where he doesn't speak and script the subtext of what's going on, and he will convey all of that behind the eyes or with a look. And that's an incredible gift to a writer, the kinds of actors that can do that.
Littlefinger, because
Yes.
Littlefinger has been a fascinating character for me to watch throughout the series, because he has had a hand in, I feel like, almost everything that has happened.
Yeah, and a lot of it. There's that great look. This is, again, like, I praise our actors, but like that's another thing where, you in those big crowd scenes, you shoot coverage of everybody. They take forever. Those scenes in the Great Hall where everyone's reacting to things, and so you've got a camera on Aiden reacting to the whole scene. Aiden Gillen, who plays Littlefinger. And there's one little bit he did where he reads the thing about Daenerys arriving, and Aiden just goes, like, oh, okay, Daenerys Targaryen's alive with dragons. Make a note of that. Like, just watching him internalize that is delicious. But
he's an actor, and Sophie and Amelia are actors that fit this description as well. that these two, it's such a gift for a writer to be able to, and I've said this before, to be able to write scenes where you don't have to write any dialogue because you know they're going to convey everything. And they have that moment in this episode, and then a moment a little later in the montage where they're just sharing a quiet meal together, where the entirety of their experience is conveyed on their faces in just a couple of seconds. And that's true brilliance. That's why I've been spoiled for life. And indeed, I even wrote, I attempted to write a scene, a full-on dialogue scene into this episode between Sansa and Theon. I never even put it in the first draft. No one ever even saw it because I was never satisfied with it. And the reason it was because it was just them talking about their trauma and recapping what we already knew. And it felt forced, it felt contrived.
Through that archway right over there.
You didn't need it. All you needed were those faces. They know what they went through, and they know that the other person is the only other person in the world who truly understands what they went through. Or can begin to understand, what the other went through. Oh, and this is I would just want to stop myself because this little girl, Bee Glancing, is just wonderful.
All the children will be going below when the time comes.
This is another example of a scene where I wrote a very contrived, well-meaning but contrived scene between Davos and Gilly, where they're talking about Shireen and they figure out the fact that they both knew Shireen and that Shireen taught both of them to read. And the guys very rightly said, yeah, we got to rework this one. We've got to come up with a better tack here because this is just reading like a Wikipedia page.
All right, I'll defend.
So now you have a scene about Shireen where Shireen is never uttered with a word, and where the two of them are unaware of the connection. And yet they share the scene with this little girl. And I think it turned out so well. So I needed to script this scene. And the two of them,
the way he delivers that line,
all of you,
arise, and Night of the Seven Kingdoms. It was, I think we all felt it in the room.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Just how charged that whole time was, and they both just blew it away. They were so fantastic.
Look at that face. I mean, and a credit to David Nutter too. David, if there was any director suited to that scene and to this episode, it's him. The way he communicates with you all and honors text and illuminates text with the way he shoots and his sensitivity, his own vulnerability, which I think I also have as a writer. I think we're very heart in our sleeves people, David and I.
It's all right.
And that moment is a great example just then of that beautiful, radiant smile and tears. That's an example of David having the right instinct and myself having the wrong instinct, because I remember watching that take and going, oh, I think it might be too much. It's too sentimental. And I went and I ran in, and he was going to wrap for the day, and I ran in and I said, can we get a take where she keeps it together? Like, she's obviously very moved, but she keeps it together. And he got the take, and Gwen performed it, and it was great.
You still have a family.
And then I saw the first cut of the episode, and of course that's the shot that was in here, and I thought, oh my God, I was so wrong. I couldn't have been more wrong. We could have wrapped 10 minutes early because...
Thanks, Bryan.
Yeah, sorry about that. Because he was right, and she was right. They illuminated something in the scene that I didn't even know was there.
Well, it's a payoff, isn't it? It's a real payoff for the character in terms of... It's almost the first time you've ever seen her genuinely smiling. Like that.
Yeah.
Or releasing that kind
that
of
much emotion. Yeah.
warmth. Yeah.
I learned a lot from that. And that's the beauty of working on a show like this, is you learn about yourself as a person, you learn about yourself as a writer, you challenge your misconceptions, you make mistakes, you hopefully learn from them as you move on. And to be able to work on something for this long, that's what happens. It really is. It's like an amazing finishing school. I'm going to say this. I don't think Kit and Amelia get enough credit for the complexity and skill of their performances on this show. I think it's very easy.
Totally agree.
I think it's very easy because they're the quote-unquote romantic leads of the show, and they're young people, and they're the two heroes. It's very easy to sort of dismiss them as less interesting as performers or characters, and I just think they are extraordinary.
Extraordinary.
And they're the backbone of the show, particularly in these final seasons. And this scene is a great example. There's so much going on behind the eyes with these two, and so much that isn't being spoken, that is being conveyed. Just right there, where she says, where the first thing that she can think about is the fact that he's now a claimant to the throne, and that's the very last thing that he is thinking about. And that's conveyed in his face and her face. It's just... So I have nothing but the highest regard for the two of them. I think they're wonderful.
I know I can write an entire scene where he doesn't speak and script the subtext of what's going on, and he will convey all of that behind the eyes or with a look. And that's an incredible gift to a writer.
Most of all, these performances, these faces.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a strong scene. I mean, it's even though it's cruel, but...
I mean, Alfie and Sophie they're just extraordinary. And the fireworks of these actors, two of our finest actors in the cast playing off each other. That was why we made the decision to put Sansa in Winterfell. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you all, and we'll see you at the fan conventions for the rest of our lives.
Yes, indeed, in 40 years. We'll see you there.